Tonight, major projects in the spotlight at Whyalla, plus the opening of an exciting infrastructure project. And a man arrested after pointing what appeared to be a rifle at a Port Pirie driver.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening. The future of Whyalla has been firmly in the spotlight today with the announcement of a multi-million-dollar boost for one of the city's major industries. Premier Stephen Marshall touring the area, also cutting the ribbon of a highly anticipated project.
It's the moment many Whyalla locals have been waiting for. Premier Stephen Marshall and Mayor Claire McLaughlin cutting the ribbon of the new jetty at the official opening ceremony for this brand new, one-of-a-kind circular structure.
I'm quite sure that this jetty will become a national icon.
Now open to everyone, the $7.8 million piece is hoped to bring in tourists from across the world. When that happens, it will be a much-needed cash injection into the regional city, greatly impacted by COVID-19.
People are going to want to come to Whyalla to see this jetty, to walk on it, and because it lights up at night time, that makes it even extra special. So people will probably stay overnight just so they can see the lights.
We need something to attract people to get off the track, east-west, come into Whyalla, spend some money in the local economy, and I think this jetty has got what it takes.
To add to the hype, the Premier today announcing an $8 million upgrade to Whyalla's steel processing centre. The project promising up to 160 jobs, further enhancing the Spencer Gulf as a key national manufacturing hub.
We're going to be putting $2 million worth of state government money in, together with $700,000 from the federal government.
This project, labelled state-of-the-art, will be delivered by Ferretti International, the company supporting Whyalla's steelworks with its transition to allow steel processing in the region for the Australian market.
Currently, their capacity is around 2,000 tonnes per year. This expansion will take it up to 1,000 tonnes per month. And we know that this is going to create between 100 and 150 new jobs in Whyalla at a time when we need it the most.
It's good to see that we'll expand our range when it comes to fabricated steel products. So I think that's a positive announcement for the city.
The news adding to the big smiles of many across the Steel City, with patrons excited to be taking their first steps on and into Whyalla's future.
This is a fantastic new development for Whyalla. I think it's going to attract a lot of people to come here and visit.
Just another step forward, ensuring Whyalla remains on the up and up. Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A Whyalla man has been arrested following a terrifying road rage incident near Port Pirie. A 28-year-old driver is accused of pointing what appeared to be a rifle at a nearby car yesterday afternoon while travelling on the Augusta Highway. Police raced to the scene and stopped the alleged driver, where they found 3 gel blasters matching the description of the rifle. The driver was charged with aggravated assault. He was bailed to appear in the Port Pirie Magistrates Court in November. With the news of a major fishing ban in Port Pirie starting to sink in, the local member is urging calm amongst frustrated community members. More research into contaminated local waters is underway, with authorities working on a plan to ensure residents can stay informed.
The water hasn't settled, with many still raising questions around a new fishing ban. Jeff Brock says he wasn't notified that the research was being conducted or of the immediate ban.
Well, I found out about the fishing ban was on Facebook the other night, and I hadn't been officially advised about the findings about it, which I'm a little bit perturbed about.
Now calling for calm as the community enters uncharted waters.
But let's not get very hysterical about it. Let's not have panic mode about the whole thing. I don't think anything's changed in the last 140 years.
SA Health says in a statement it's working closely with PIRSA on the new rules, that it's important residents abide by the ban, and reiterating that any species in the closure area shouldn't be consumed.
We've got to go further. There's more investigation, more reports to be done there. We're open to all of the research and things like that.
SA Health says there'll soon be specific guidelines residents can access on its website. The confirmation follows concerns raised by Jeff Brock in what he says is a lack of community consultation.
I voiced my concern to the Minister yesterday and he apologised for that. So certainly going forward, let's have the better relationship.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, what Broken Hill locals think of the ongoing border issues with South Australia, and we take a look at how the new high school in Whyalla is progressing. Hello again. South Australia's decision to keep mandatory self-isolation in place for New South Wales travellers has left some Broken Hill locals seeing red. With the South Australian border just 48 kilometres away, many say they can't believe quarantine is still required while ACT residents can travel freely.
So close and yet so far. Broken Hill residents still persona non grata in South Australia.
I was completely devastated yesterday, devastated for our community. They all had their hopes that, there would be a change. We've been waiting since July.
SA's decision to allow ACT residents in without needing to self-isolate, whilst New South Wales residents still have to, has been met by anger and confusion from some Silver City locals.
It's frustrating, especially for people who have got relatives there.
I do have family down in South Australia and I would love to go down there and see my mum.
I realise that, if each state's got to look after their own concerns, but not fair.
The city's close connection with the state still not enough for a travel bubble.
We go by SA Time, we go by SA News, we virtually are part of SA except for the actual border itself.
In a statement, the government says it is encouraged by the low number of cases in New South Wales and is watching the state closely. It also says some residents are eligible for a cross-border exemption, but that only permits travel 50 kilometres past the Oodlawirra checkpoint. Any further and the person must still self-isolate. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Construction at Whyalla's new $100 million secondary school is on track to open in 2022. Premier Stephen Marshall spent the morning touring the site, set to be an education hub for more than 1,000 students.
Walking through a busy construction site, South Australia's Premier pleased with the progress of the new Whyalla secondary school.
It's absolutely fantastic to be in Whyalla today. Taking a look at the progress of the brand new school here. I tell you what, I'm absolutely excited about what is being created.
97% of the steel used for the structured frames is being sourced from the city's local steelworks. Stephen Marshall says this school will be one of the best in Australia.
What the students will have here will be state-of-the-art facilities, whether they be STEM facilities, classroom facilities, sporting facilities, both indoor and outdoor.
New Principal Tricia Richmond says she is overwhelmed with excitement to see the new facility develop into a world-class learning precinct.
Just so exciting to actually see the building taking shape.
With classroom frame structures continuing to take shape and cement pouring now in action, Sarah Construction says its 270 employees, half of which are local, are working hard on the project.
We started our RAF and strip footings to buildings 1 and 2, which are our performing arts and our administration building, and the gym's almost finished with the concrete works.
It's going to be a Year 7 to Year 12 school. Initially, we believe the capacity will be around 1,200, growing to 1,500.
And the first matter of business, choosing a school name.
At the moment, we have 3 names that have been proposed and are out for public consultation.
More information about the names can be found online. Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A rocket launch which was set to touch the stars has made headlines for all the wrong reasons. The 3-metre rocket misfired at the Cuniva launch site near Ceduna yesterday afternoon after months of planning. The launch was delayed for more than an hour before it finally got the green light. Unfortunately, the missile barely budged. Engineers are trying to figure out just what went wrong, with hopes the second launch will be more successful in the coming days. Stay with us after the break. Meet an inspirational young Port Lincoln man helping to train junior athletes reach their goals. And Port Pirie Christmas pageant, the latest victim of COVID-19. Hello again. A Port Lincoln man has shared his inspiring story of resilience and hard work while living with autism. 20-year-old Caleb Henderson isn't letting his disability slow him down, volunteering his time at several community organisations supporting children with special needs.
Taking strides in mentoring the next generation, Caleb Henderson is well on his way in getting his dream job as a horse riding instructor.
I feel like I would be here for a long time, and I feel like I better put my time to a good use and for a good cause that I know that I would benefit as well.
The 20-year-old lives with autism and volunteers his time here at Port Lincoln's Riding for the Disabled Association and the local school. He says it's a strange feeling of deja vu, back in the same classroom and stables he once attended as a student himself.
It's very rewarding to see the kids that come in and have a smile on their face when I come in as well.
Caleb paying it forward by looking after the horses and stables, feeding and brushing them, as well as getting them ready for classes.
The main thing we've seen is the confidence to put his hand up and say, yes, I will help.
The National Disability Insurance Scheme supporting Caleb's dream of finding a job and living an independent life.
They helped me gain the work experience that I have at the school, and they support me with the paperwork for working here as well.
Sadly, Caleb says finding the right job with the support he needs is like a needle in a haystack, but he remains optimistic, enjoying his work and development at the RDA in the meantime, with his trusted steed Hannah by his side.
So far I've accomplished a fair bit with her, and for me to become a riding coach, I had recently just had a really good ride, I think 2 weeks ago, and it felt good riding her.
That feeling that they've got a sense of being out in the open air, but I think it's more for their physical development as well as their mental.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Yet another event has fallen victim to the coronavirus, with Port Pirie's Christmas pageant the latest to be scrapped. Organisers say the decision was heart-wrenching, but volunteers are still working to find ways to celebrate the festive season.
These committee members have been working around the clock to try and get the pageant and Christmas in the Park to go ahead.
It's not a decision that we made lightly. In fact, the committee's been working really hard all year. We actually met for 5 times already this year.
When we have a projected crowd of 6,000 to 8,000 people, that's quite significant impact for contact tracing.
Despite this setback, volunteers say they're still communicating with Santa
to still bring that joy and that Christmas spirit and the magic to the community, and especially the children of our community.
Also encouraging residents to get into the Christmas spirit.
Things like decorate our house, our businesses, and just really glam it up. Let's just all get together and really make it a great and special time for the children of Port Pirie.
Organisers focusing on making next year's event bigger and better, announcing the theme as Celebrating 60.
Flower power, landing on the moon, all those 60s musos like the Beatles.
Port Pirie community members can get involved and take on a rewarding role, one which works solely to make people happy year in, year out.
Becoming a volunteer with the pageant, helping out with the costume department, the decorating team, you know, there's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun on the committee.
You know, impact to people's mental health. So it's important that we keep up our Christmas spirits and we invest and give our time and share that.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Broken Hill Basketball could soon return to the courts, with the association holding a meeting tomorrow night. But its organisers say a season won't be able to get off the ground unless it's supported by volunteers.
Broken Hill's local basketball stadium has been closed for 6 months. The summer season cancelled back in March, just as the COVID-19 pandemic started to grip the nation.
It was devastating for players, for the committee, for everyone. It had been such an amazing season.
Tomorrow night, the city's Basketball Association will consider bringing the game back. A public meeting to be held, open to players, supporters and officials.
Give advice to everyone and say, right, this is the COVID plan. This is what New South Wales Health has looked at. This is what we need to have running if we want the season to go ahead.
The focus on getting junior players back on the court first and making sure coronavirus safety measures are followed.
We are one very lucky stadium to be able to allow one parent per player to attend. So lucky we do have a pretty big stadium to allow that.
But the association's executive says a season can only go ahead if supported by all involved. A large number of volunteers will be needed for game nights. If no one puts their hands up, the sport will remain on the bench.
It purely comes down to the volunteers' help. How bad do you want your kids to play sport? Because if you want them to play bad enough, you will come out and volunteer an hour of your time.
The meeting will be held at the local stadium at 6:30. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Pat will have this week's Fuel Watch and we'll have the weather with Britt. Welcome back. Time now to see how things are shaping up when we head to the petrol pump. Here's Patrick Reinke with this week's Fuel Watch.
It's been a bit of a mixed bag at the Bowser as we push further into the month of September. Starting with unleaded, and there's only one Spencer Gulf city to see a rise, and it's Port Lincoln. The change is thankfully not a major one though, the average still around $1.18. Whyalla has enjoyed a small reduction in the last 7 days, the Steel City now paying $1.16. That's the same as Port Pirie and Kadina, which saw next to no movement this week. Port Augusta is the big mover on the board, witnessing a 2-cent decline. The town is now hovering around $1.20. Here in Broken Hill, things are very steady. Down in the South Australian capital, drivers have seen the cycle start once again, the price jumping by 30 cents. Turning over to diesel now, and there have been no increases in the past week. Port Pirie is now the cheapest in the Spencer Gulf, paying $1.16. Kadina also dropping by a cent to $1.17. That's the same price as Port Lincoln. Whyalla and Port Augusta, the priciest places to fill up, but it's only a cent dearer than the rest. Broken Hill is paying the most of any place on the board, $1.27 the figure here. Adelaide doing fantastically, only averaging $1.12. Finishing off with a quick look at Autogas, and Port Lincoln has ticked down by 2 cents to be paying 90 cents a litre. Port Pirie is doing 10 cents better on 80. Whyalla is paying $1, Kadina and Port Augusta are still on 89, and Broken Hill is on 83. Adelaide rounds out the board, going down once again, the City of Churches paying a very cheap 71 cents. Now remember that these prices are the regional averages, and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. And if you do find a spot that does sell unleaded, auto gas or diesel for cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
Now for a look at what's happening in the weather, here's Britt.
Thanks Louise, and good evening. We've seen another warm day today with temperatures up to 6 degrees above average. Port Augusta reached a top of 30 degrees today, Port Lincoln 24 and Port Pirie 29. Here's the map showing the maximum temperatures across the region. It reached 30 degrees at Whyalla today, 29 at Woodna, 28 was the high at Broken Hill, Kadina and Cleve, and it reached 27 degrees in Adelaide. From the satellite today, we can see thick cloud pushing in from the west with a deepening low pressure trough bringing those showers our way. A bit of high cloud moved through ahead of that trough and skies remained clearer to the north under a dry air mass. So that was your Wednesday, but let's take a look now at your Thursday. On the waters, north to northeasterly winds at around 10 to 15 knots, seas up to 1.5 metres in the south. And thanks to that low, it is looking wet tomorrow. Rain at times for Port Lincoln with a top of 17 degrees. Cleve, rain and 20. Rain at times and a high of 22 for Woodna. Whyalla, showers tomorrow with a top of 25 degrees, a top of 28 for Port Augusta with a possible shower there. Kadina, showers and 21. A shower or two for Port Pirie tomorrow, looking at a top of 26 degrees. Clare, showers and 18, and remaining dry at Broken Hill, 31 and cloudy tomorrow. To the end of the week now, showers expected across the board on Friday, 31 degrees the top for Port Augusta. Broken Hill 30, Port Pirie with a top of 29 degrees, Woodna and Kadina both 28, Whyalla 27, Port Lincoln 20. And we'll see more showers to kick off the weekend, with possible storms at Broken Hill on Saturday, a top of 22 degrees there. Port Augusta and Woodna both 23, Whyalla and Port Pirie 22, a top of 21 degrees for Kadina, Port Lincoln 20. And finally now to Sunday, and it's looking like those showers will clear to a mostly fine day. Port Augusta with a top of 28 degrees, a high of 27 for Woodna, Whyalla and Port Pirie both 26 on Sunday, Kadina and Broken Hill 23, Port Lincoln 21. And Louise, that brings me to the end of the forecast. A few wet days on the way, but it should dry off by the end of the weekend.
Lovely, thank you for that, Britt. And that's your local news for this half of the week. Thank you for joining us. We'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.